and enter your username and password. When you log into your account, you land on the recently opened Documents page. Don't let this page overwhelm you. We'll go over how to navigate this page in another video, but for now, I just want to get right into creating stuff so you see how easy it really is. So, come over here to the upper left and click on the blue Create button. After you click the Create button, give your project a name. Select if you want it to be private, meaning viewable only by you, or public, meaning viewable by anyone. After you click OK, you're brought to the Workspace section. This is a relatively clean user interface, but some might still find it overwhelming. In this video, I won't go over what everything does. I just want to get you on your feet and cover the most basic functions. So first, we'll briefly go over how 3D objects are created in Onshape, and this process is similar in most other engineering type 3D CAD software packages. So there are 4 steps involved. First, start with 2D sketches. We need to define the basic outline of the object we want to create. To do that, we sketch a flat profile in 2 dimensions on a plane, just like when drawing shapes like circles, squares, rectangles, and polygons on a piece of paper. Second, you extrude or add material or volume to it to make the flat sketch 3-dimensional. For this step, we need to define the height that we want our object to have. Now, we have our 3D object, but rarely do we stop here. We usually want to add features to the object to make them functional and useful, or just aesthetically pleasing. So, just like in step 1, where we sketch the outline of our object, we need to sketch the outline of our new features. For step 3, we pick which faces we want our features to be on and use them as planes to make our sketches on. And finally, in step 4, we use the sketches to extrude. This time we can add or remove material to get our desired feature. CAD packages, including Onshape, have many tools that make creating common and complex features very easy.
Imagine if you could design products as quickly as your ideas flow. Imagine if...
So, back to our newly created workspace. I want to show you how easy it is to get started. There are 3 planes here, the top plane, the front plane, and the right plane. They're all perpendicular to each other and intersect at the origin, which is the circle with a dot in it. To select things, use the left mouse button. So here, if I click on these planes, I've selected them. A number will appear next to my cursor to show how many items I have selected. If you click on the same entity again, you will deselect it. You can also press spacebar to deselect everything, or click on white space within the work area to deselect everything. Also, when you're navigating menus in Onshape and want to cancel out of something, just press the escape button. That will usually do the trick. You can zoom in and out using the mouse wheel. Try that now. It is also important to know how to rotate your views. Simply click and drag the right mouse button in the workspace to change your view orientation. Okay, after all that twirling around, to reset the view after we've lost our orientation, click the right mouse button in the workspace and select Isometric. I also like to come up here and click on this corner of the viewing cube, this corner connecting the top, front, and right planes. This makes a slight adjustment to the isometric view that I prefer. Okay, now we're ready to get started. For now, we'll just focus on the sketch and extrude buttons. Remember, we'll first create a sketch and then extrude it into a 3D object. So press the sketch button at the top left and several things will happen. A sketch dialog appears with the name Sketch 1 and a message at the top center here pops up to select a sketch plane. Also notice that in the sketch dialog, this box is highlighted blue. It's telling us to select a sketch plane. In other words, it wants a sketch plane as an input that we will draw our sketch on. Remember, to make our 2D sketch of our shape, we need to put it on a plane. It cannot be arbitrarily floating in space. Well, we already have the front, top, and right planes showing. We could select any of the planes, but for now, let's just select the top plane with the left mouse button. Hover your mouse over it until the perimeter or outline of it is highlighted, and then click it. Okay, now you can see what used to be the blue box is now populated with top plane, and we also see graphically that the sketch 1 is oriented to or overlaps the top plane. If you made the wrong selection, you can press this X here and make another selection. Now, this workspace is getting a bit cluttered and messy for my taste, and I'm sure you'll agree. We're going to clean it up a bit. We don't need to see all these planes visually intersecting each other. Let's hide them from view. On this left sidebar here, under Default Geometry, there are currently 4 items. This is the origin, the center point of this workspace, which also gets highlighted when you hover your mouse over it. Then we have the top, front, and right planes. When you hover over them, also notice that this eye icon shows up to the right here, indicating that these items are currently visible. Clicking on the eye icon will hide the items from view and make them invisible. Let's hide the 3 planes, but leave the origin visible for now. If you later want to show the planes again, you can come back here and re-click to show them. Now, with the workspace cleared up, let's create our shape. We'll draw a rectangle, but instead of using the default corner rectangle, we'll use this drop-down menu and select Center Rectangle. I want to draw it centered around the origin, so I'll hover over the origin until it highlights, then click once to start drawing the rectangle. Move the mouse to size it, then click again to finish it. Alternatively, I could have just started drawing it on a down click and finished it by releasing the mouse button. Now, we're currently looking at our rectangle from a so-called isometric viewpoint. Let's look at it straight from above. The technical term used for this view is normal to. So, right-click on the white space and select View Normal to Sketch Plane. Okay, that's much better. Okay, let's set the size of our rectangle or its dimensions to be 2 inches by 3 inches long. Select the dimension button, then select a side of the rectangle and click once more to place the dimension. Don't worry too much about where you place this right now, it's not important. Next, an input field appears showing what the current dimension of the side is. Your input box may show some other units than inches, such as millimeters. In Onshape, you can just enter the value plus the units and it will automatically convert it. So let's enter 2 and then IN for inches. Then press enter. Good. This sets the width of the rectangle to 2 inches. Next, let's set the length to be 3 inches. The dimension tool you can see here is still highlighted, meaning it is still selected, so you don't have to re-click it. So select this other side of the rectangle, place the dimension, and finally set the value to 3 inches. Before we finish, let's add a circle in the center of our rectangle. I want our 3D box to have a hole through it. Select Center Point Circle, hover over the origin, and click to draw the circle. Again, let's give it a fixed size. So, activate the Dimension tool, select our newly created circle, find a place for the dimension, then enter a value of 1 inch. Okay, we're ready for step 2 to change this 2D sketch into a 3D object. Let's change our view back to isometric view so we can see what will happen in a 3D perspective. Click on this box at the top right of the window and select the first option here, isometric. Okay, good. Next, click on this green arrow to indicate that we're done with this sketch for now. Next, click on the extrude button at the top left here. The extrude dialog appears, and this one is called extrude 1. By default, solid is highlighted. We'll leave that selected since we want to create a solid object instead of just a surface. On the second line here, new is selected by default. Again, we'll leave that selected because it means we want to create a new solid. Next, we have the blue box indicating what input it's looking for. Faces and sketch regions to extrude. We want to extrude the rectangular shape, but not the circle, so we can select this rectangular region. Notice the preview we get of what it will look like. If you're zoomed too far in, you can zoom out by pushing the wheel away. Also, notice the hole in the center. Since we didn't select the circular region, that region won't be extruded. Now, as a test, on the sketch plane, click on the circle. 3 things will happen. First, in the Extrude 1 dialog, the blue box populates with another line item for the extra selection we made. Second, the preview of the extrusion now shows a complete mass without that hole, since we're extruding both the rectangle and the circle. And third, the cursor now has a small 2 next to it, indicating that there are 2 selections made. Okay, Click on the circle once again to deselect it because we do want to extrude around the hole, but not the hole itself. The next item on the Extrude 1 dialog is the end type. By default, blind is selected. This means the extrusion will go a specified distance or depth. In this case, it's extruding upwards, so we can also say to a specific height. But either way, OnShape uses the term depth. If you click on the drop-down arrow, you can see the different type of end types: symmetric, up to next, up to face, etc. Also, if you click on the button to the right with the two arrows, you can change the direction of the extrusion. Let's leave it at default, pointing up. Next, we select the depth of the extrusion. Let's type in 0.5 inches. You can preview the result by 1. Clicking elsewhere, 2. Pressing Tab, or 3. Pressing Enter once. That's all we need for now. We can click the green arrow to accept or press Enter again to exit out of the Extrude menu. And now we have our extruded solid with a hole through the center. Good job.
Working together from anywhere, we can go